Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. Ukrainians have gotten their hands on something very interesting, more specifically on remains of the super secret Russian stealth unmanned aerial vehicle prototype that Russians tried to launch over the territory of Ukraine but lost control and were forced to shut it down so it don't get into the hands of Ukrainians fully. Let's talk about this and other things today, and I'm sorry this video got out only now with a huge gap with the previous video. Unfortunately, I got sick, so we're starting again, and video is going to be coming today, and there's going to be a video tomorrow for you as well. So let's talk about this Hunter B or Hunter S70 as it's also called. So just for your understanding, this is a scale of that vehicle, so it is pretty big. In short, as I said, it's a super secret mega prototype project that were developed by the Sukhoi in Russia, and it was presented essentially as a plane that didn't need to have a pilot, and they wanted to copy all of the stealth technology and make it like this 6th generation ultra aircraft, no pilot needed, is gonna do all the work and no threat to the pilots, like Russians would ever care for the lives of their pilots, which is hilarious by itself. But more importantly, this was a major project that cost Russia a lot, because corruption in Russia, especially in military procurement, is through the roof. That's why these hunters, they are barely visible right now, and we saw the full-blown video of it being taken down. Now gonna show you a couple of seconds where you can see that there is this hunter flying, and then right behind him there is an airplane, which is the Russian strike airplane, and that one then later launches a missile and shuts down this unmanned aerial vehicle. Now, obviously, I cannot show you because of the YouTube restrictions, because I'm not taking any chances, but the link in the Discord is in the description. Join the Discord. There is a video share channel. You can find all of the videos that I'm mentioning in this video or the next on our Discord server. And it's a very interesting prototype because in US there was a similar program which at the end found that it was not really feasible, that this mix of a drone plane type it doesn't really work. So at the end they decided that it's better for pilots and planes do what pilots and planes do, and for unmanned area vehicles do what the drones do. And they kind of separated their own way, and now they are supplemental to each other, but they're not a complete substitute. So in US, this program has been, as far as I am aware, already closed. In Russia, it still has been siphoning funds for a while, and now as it was shut down and the remnants of this Hunter B flew in the territory of Ukraine, now it's Ukrainian intelligence that got their hands on the remains. It's going to be truly interesting to see, with the Ukrainian now booming drone program being in full steam ahead development, if some of the elements from this drone could supplement developments of some of the long-range Ukrainian strike drones. It's definitely a very interesting thing to see, and I'm very happy that Russian weapons are failing. I hope more of them will. Now, I know that all of you are really waiting for me to do the discussion on what's the situation on the front line, and I will do a dedicated video for it specifically tomorrow, because there are a couple of really important analysts that came out with long videos about what's happening on the front line, and I want to get familiarized with them before I get my full assessment. But in general, the situation has been somewhat slowing down. We see that after Russians were able to capture the remnants of Vuhledar and Ukrainian troops falling back, and again, the assessment whether it's good, bad, we're going to do it tomorrow. What is notable is that this week, as far as I can see, is going to be the last sunny week and warm sunny week in this year. It feels that after the next Saturday, Sunday, the temperature will drop significantly and we might start seeing rains on the Ukrainian territories, especially in the east, which will of course makes things more complicated for the attackers. So I would be cautiously expecting that some of the force that Russia is portraying here on the battlefield will be slowing down finally and giving a little bit of a breather for the defending forces. And I think the next slide is what is the most important, because on this channel I always talk to you and I try to explain to you that yes, Ukrainians are falling back, but the core problem, the core principle that Ukrainians are trying to do is they're trying to inflict a lot of damage for the Russians. It's a defensive operations. So when Russians are attacking, the things that Ukraine is trying to prevent is Russian breakthrough through their defensive positions. So if their defensive lines are assaulted and then Russians are kind of pushing through these defensive lines, then Ukrainians need to prevent the complete penetration of these defensive lines like this. And instead what they need to is they need to bend and adapt to the Russian advances and instead create kind of new defensive positions while slowing down Russians, allowing to still inflict serious damage to the attackers. There were a couple of moments during this Russian campaign during the summer where it was very, very risky, but Ukrainians held it together and they're continuously inflicting significant damage to the Russians. And while Russia is capturing territory, it's always, I'm on this channel trying to say is like it doesn't really that great for Russians because a lot of their effort is going for a very little gain. And we are oftentimes very zoomed in into these cities and villages about Russian advances and the Ukrainians are having a hard time, and they do have a hard time. But I think there was a great chart presented by Okogora, which clearly shows you the distribution of control of Ukrainian territory. Now on this chart on the top, you see February 2022, whereas at the bottom you see the month of, let me see where it is, it's somewhere here, yes, you see the September of 2024. So if you look up, you see Russia at first in 2022 controlling more of Ukrainian territory. Now if you try to look only at the part that says 2024, you will note that during this whole year of offensive, during this whole major offensive, what the Western shills and journalists are trying to portray as Ukrainians almost falling apart, that the positions that Ukrainians held are being captured by the Russians, that Russians are ultra advancing, and yada, 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 yada. Everything that is that negativity that is being poured into your ears. When you look at 2024, you see that with all of their presumed hyper success on the front line, it's barely noticeable. They are far away from reaching their goals. And again, 2024 was expected to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest years for Ukraine because of the variety of factors, which maybe we're going to talk about tomorrow. But I think this chart is crucial, and it's very critical for everyone that is following this channel to remember that while there is a lot of panic, while there is a lot of despair, take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and then maybe it's not as bad. And the same thing is happening with when there is a discussion about the Russian military budget. Now, I took my last video was 30 minutes long, so obviously not every one of you watched this. I hope you will take additional second to watch that video, but I took very deep dive into the Russian economy and why I said that 2025 is gonna bring a lot of the economic troubles for Russia. Now Russia has rolled out their budget plan for 2025, and it's actually a budget plan for like 3 years to come. And while Western media and everyone else is just screaming from the tops of the mountains, like at everyone, spreading panic, saying that this is the most militaristic Russian budget. My argument has been expressed very clearly in a previous video that there is a lot of window dressing here, and there is actually not as much sound substance. For example, something that these news articles don't mention, they are going to mention that Russian increase was over 25% hike, for example, as you can see in this Reuters article. However, what they don't tell you is that when you look at this hike on the budget year on year, then you kind of start seeing different numbers. So after Russia invaded Ukraine, they were increasing their budget over 38.5%. Then in 2023, when they had the Kursk offensive and so on, they increased their budget by 36.9%. Then 2024, where Putin said, okay, mobilization, all in, we need like full-blown production, we do whatever we can, just like full steam ahead, we're gonna increase to 67.6. And now 2025 planned, and this is important, planned, is 25.7% increase additionally. So Russia, every single year of this war, has been increasing their budget more than they're gonna increase it the next year. So what this tells us is that while there's gonna be a certain hike in the Russian military budgeting, this hike of just 25% compared to what they had before is actually the lowest we've ever seen. Moreover, because of increasing Russian problems with their economic balancing, with their growing inflation number, because inflation is not being stopped. Just last week, it was reported that the Russian yearly, not yearly, but weekly inflation hit 0.2%. 0.2%. That's a lot. That's a lot. That means you get a 1% yearly inflation every 5 weeks if you do like this. It is a lot. So, and it's official numbers. The non-official inflation is already like past 20%. Some people are reporting on some of the, not people, but like some of the independent research agencies. So Russian economy is not having a good time. And when you have prices for everything rising, like inflation, then suddenly 25% extra spend, if you put it side by inflation, giving a discount that military is a government spending, so it's less susceptible to inflation, and it's probably going to get prioritized anyway. But the point still stands. Putin is burning through whatever he has, and what his economic numbers are stating right now, when you look at this budget increase that is the lowest we've ever seen for this, is that they're running out of steam. He really put, like, if not all in, then pretty much almost all in, that everything that he has on 2024. And he really tries to pull out as much as possible from 2024. And it seems that 2025, while there is this increase, it is clearly not sufficient to get into the Russian ambitions of capturing Ukraine. Remember, 67% increase of spending for 2024, gains. 67.6% spending, gains. 25.7 is not sufficient. And this is also the year where Ukraine is going to finally get certain things kicking in. There is a lot of initiatives that are actually getting towards Ukraine. I've noted, I'm not sure if you've noted, but I've definitely noted that in the recent couple of weeks, there have been article after article after article and news after news after news of, hey, these new contributions to Ukraine are coming in. New production lines are coming online. New investment into Ukrainian technology is coming in. Netherlands, again, increasing into Ukrainian production. Just recently, Biden signed off $8 billion to support Ukraine. Many good initiatives are coming towards Ukraine. So 2025 is definitely going to be less positive for Russians compared to 2024, which was, in my perspective, not as one-sided successful as the Russian shills and propagandists will lead you to believe. And the most important thing that we must do is we must work to elect Kamala Harris as a president of the United States. Because right now, there is a lot of things that are working against us. There is Russian propaganda, there is dirty Russian money, there are all of these underhanded tactics, there is a lot of things that are working to make sure that the democracy falls in the United States. And I feel that it's all of our effort to make sure that Kamala wins. Now, I'm not talking to the Maverick Republicans. They're going to be gaslighting in a comment section that A, I should not go into US politics, B, that I don't understand US politics, and C, that actually Trump is not that bad. We don't need to care about what they think, because they are the most dishonest people I have ever met. They will tell you that they support Ukraine wholeheartedly, but when the push comes to shove, they will find 101 excuse on how to throw Ukrainians under the bus, how to throw democracy under the bus. People I'm trying to address here is obviously the Democrats. The first and foremost Democrats, what you need to do is you need to register to vote. In US November elections, only registered voters can vote, and a lot of people that I know has reported that their registrations has been suspended or put on hold. You need to double check your registration, and you need to make sure you vote in these elections. Then I want to address the independent voters. Now, for independent voters, you usually have some kind of pet peeve for, and factually speaking, a lot of the pet peeves that I've heard from the independent voters have been debunked one way or another. What I call on you in general for independent voters is, I know you want to vote third party. I know that one of the other candidate for you doesn't really work. I just call on you to preserve democracy. Because right now what at stake is for Trump to trying to dismantle democracy. He has been talking about it nonstop. So my ask for you is to, in this election, for if you care about Ukraine, for the sake of Ukraine, please vote Kamala. And then next time you have more options, because democracy was going to be preserved. And you know where it was shown the most? It was shown in J.D. Vance and Tim Walz's debate, because the debate was surprisingly normal. Like, obviously there were lies, obviously there were some underhanded tactics and so on, but what you cannot say is that debate was batshit crazy, that it went downhill somewhere where it didn't belong. No, it was still a debate where both sides presented their arguments and there was possibility for maneuver. So we can clearly state that the stabilization of the state and democracy in US is fully dependent on Donald Trump. Let him pass away into his retirement. Let him and Elon here cheer out each other in the ways that they find. Then I want to address the Republican voters. Now, I know you have been conditioned that party comes before everything. And obviously voting Democrat for a lot of you, I know, is not an option. Then the only thing I can ask for you, obviously, please, if you can find yourself the spirit, vote. But if you cannot, then at least don't. Then at least do not vote for this guy. I know it's technically he's a Republican, but he has been working non-stop since 2016 to dismantle everything that Republican Party stands for. Everything. The only couple of good things that were done under him were done in spite of him. A lot of the good things that were really good were done because of the people that were surrounding him. His own cabinet, almost like a huge number of his cabinet, is now dismissing him and saying he's a threat to democracy. And those were the people that put some checks and balances on him. The people that actually cared for the party and the policy. These people are now dismissing him because he went full-blown weirdo crazy. So please do not vote for the weirdo crazy guy, at least for now. And then finally, the last word is for my fellow Europeans. US politics is the most important thing right now. On US politics depends the future of Ukraine, depends the future of democracy, depends the future of us in Europe and our prosperity as well. You don't want 4 years of Trump. Do you want tariffs with the United States? Like, hey, hell, if that guy wakes up and some billionaire offers him, is like, hey, why don't we just put tariffs on Europeans traveling to United States or whatever else? He can do that because he's wild and weird. Because we never know. Like, it's so easy to get in his head. You know that, I know that. So now that there's not going to be checks and balances, we need to make sure that this guy is not getting back into office for our own sake. So I call on my European viewers to please consider reaching out to your US friends, consider conveying that message, and ask them to please, at least in this election, vote blue. In any case, I love you, Slava Ukraini, and I see you next time.